Well, Sanral has announced that the controversial e-toll system will be implemented in Gauteng, but it would seem that Cosatu is digging in its heels again over this particular issue. Let's welcome to the show Cosatu's Patrick Craven. Mr. Craven, good morning to you. Always a pleasure having you in, sir. Is Sanral arrogant, or are you just not willing to admit the inevitable?
Sanral are certainly arrogant. The strange thing about this is that Parliament is still to finish passing legislation which will legalise e-tolling. The National Council of Provinces still has not debated the issue, and yet here we have Sanral announcing that it will go ahead anyway, which is almost showing contempt of Parliament and democratic processes. But I think it's typical of the way Sanral have dealt with the entire issue from the start. A complete disregard for the overwhelming opposition of the people of Gauteng, and the very, very strong arguments which also are still to be tested in court in a case which is still outstanding. Sanral is completely ignoring that, again assuming that the court will take a decision in its favour.
The SCA court, of course, or the SCA. Two issues and you mentioned the opposition to this particular e-tolling system. Sanral will have us believe that over 300,000 people have bought e-toll tags, thus supporting it, but then your argument would be that those attending the public hearings are vehemently against it. Who is to be believed in this particular debate?
We believe that the number of people buying tags is overwhelmingly government departments, big organisations like banks who have run fleets of cars. The evidence on the ground is that very, very few individual motorists have been buying these tags. You only have to drive past some of these centres, and the car parks are empty. There's no queue of people. We believe the vast majority of people are heeding the advice which we have given, that they shouldn't buy these e-tags. They should do everything possible to make it difficult for government to implement this proposal, so that they will ultimately have to change to a fairer and more efficient way of collecting money for what is a basic public service.
You're calling for civil disobedience?
Yes. We wouldn't dispute that. We've already been involved in demonstrations on the motorways, drive slow campaigns, and there will be more.
I would like to get some clarity on this. Wayne Duvenage is a man you know quite well from Auto, who's obviously also against this e-tolling. They say they're not against the paying of the national highways in Gauteng. He goes on to add as well that the infrastructure is fantastic. Are you against any payment for e-tolling or for Gauteng's highways or main roads, or are you just looking for a better and more fair way of collecting the money?
A better and fairer way is, of course, they have to be paid for, like any social service, whether it's education, health, public transport. But normally the way this is done is through taxation, which is graduated, so the more you earn, the more you pay, not on fixed tolls. And it's interesting that in health, we're moving in the opposite direction, away from the user pays principle to a universal system where everybody is treated equally. Why are our roads not treated the same? Why is it that people who have money can drive on roads where people who don't may have to be forced onto the side roads or on inadequate public transport?
You've called Sanral arrogant. If they go ahead with this, despite what Cosatu might think, how are you going to deal with their arrogance if they push through with this? What are you going to do?
Well, first of all, the Parliament has to decide. If they push ahead without parliamentary approval, they're actually breaking the law, and it raises the issue to a different level altogether. Assuming Parliament does pass the bill, well, we continue to oppose it, and because it's ultimately a matter of principle.
But are you going to close down the Gauteng main roads? That's what I'm trying to get to.
We haven't worked out our detailed plan of action, but we will be announcing this in the very near future, and there will be a lot of action taking place over the coming weeks and months.
And I'm sure when that happens, if that happens, we'll have you back on the show. Always a pleasure. Patrick Craven from Cosatu joining us this morning.